What is up, guys? So I got a lot of questions from the last video about the iPhone 11. So I think it comes from a lot of newer people subscribed to the channel. So a lot of you guys were, what's wrong with the iPhone? What don't you like about it? Why did you flame it so hard when it came out? So I know a lot of people weren't subscribed 6 months ago when I released that video, and I wasn't super harsh about it, but there were things I just did not like about this phone. But I want to talk about what I do like, but I'm still pretty firm on this phone's shortcomings. So before I got the yellow iPhone, I had the iPhone 11 as soon as it came out 6 months ago, and I sold it like a week or two later, and then I rebought the iPhone just to cater to the small percentage of my subscribers that are into iPhone. So that's why I picked this one up again, the yellow version, which I really like. I think it looks much better than the white version, which I thought looked really great as well too. So my main issue with this phone was the display. So it still has an IPS display, and it's basically a 720p plus display. So it's not an AMOLED display for, you know, $700, you know, plus extra after tax. They could have put an AMOLED display on here, so that was one of the weirdest things with this phone. You could definitely tell I had an iPhone XS, and you could tell from just the color and quality of the display versus, you know, an IPS display. So that was one of the things. Also, the huge notch. If you guys don't know, I'm a 7 Pro daily driver, so I have a phone that is AMOLED plus the full screen, so that was automatically one of the things that was kind of weird. It's just Apple's notch is just really big. It's bigger than your average notch. So if you look at something like the V40 or the G7, that's like a normal size notch, and now they have it down to the wider drop in the punch hole. But Apple has the hugest, most intrusive notch on their display. Now, most normal people do not care about this, but it's something that us that are super media focused, it's something that we care about. So it's definitely intrusive when it comes to just gaming and stuff, having that huge cutout. Now, Face ID is very cool, but I feel like Apple could easily just take care of this by putting a fingerprint scanner in this phone, but they did not, because I guess Face ID they think is superior. So that's one of the things I wish it had. One, an AMOLED display, not so huge of a notch in a physical, or not a physical, but a in-display fingerprint scanner. Also, the next thing with this phone was the 64 gigs of storage. I really didn't like that as well. I feel like for almost the $800 that I paid for this phone when it first came out, it was like $748 after tax, and only 64 gigs when you can get phones like the Bolden one had 128 gigs right out of the box for $200. So I just feel like for these flagship phones, you should definitely get 128 gigs standard, and you don't get the fast charging with this phone. You get the 5-watt charger, and that's really annoying too. So the battery life is better on this phone. You can get through a day really no problem, but yeah, I don't like how slow the phone charges. Alright, so let's get into what I actually like about this phone so far. So what I've grown to like from just doing camera comparisons, I've really grown to like the video on here. I think this has some of the best 4K video on any phone that I've tested so far. It's just very color accurate, and it just looks really sharp. It looks really good. So I was really impressed with the 4K video on here, and this also takes great pictures as well. You get really good color accuracy, great detail. These are some super solid cameras, and it has really competitive it has a really competitive night mode when you compare it to the Pixel 4. Now, I still think the Pixel 4 has the best camera in smartphones right now, but the iPhone 11 is very, very close. I really like it, and I even think the video is better on the iPhone, with the mic quality is actually better on the iPhone as well. Another thing I really like about this phone is how fast that it launches applications. It's extremely fast. It launches very, very fast, and this phone usually never has any hiccups whatsoever. So it's usually a super smooth experience with this phone. So as you can see, I don't completely hate this phone. It's just some things that you know were major that I really got annoyed with, especially like little stuff like the 5-watt charger. Why not throw that in? So you know, I like the iPhone 6 months later. I think it's still super fast, super solid cameras. I really like the design on here. The speakers are actually really loud as well. So overall, it's a solid phone. If you're an iPhone user, this is a really great phone. But you know, if you're coming from like a 7 Pro and you're coming to this, you're gonna notice how slow it charges. You're gonna notice the lower res display. You're gonna notice little things like that if you're like a spec nerd or whatever. So just my thoughts, just to clarify that for you guys that aren't new. So be sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.